How's everybody doing today? Good? Sounds good. Yes, we were planning on having a live stream on this channel this evening. I ended up getting up later this morning than I anticipated. I don't think I had enough sleep Friday night, so last night my body went, and you're going to pay for it. So, anyways, being up later and all that means pushing the live stream back. I want to talk about some stuff around sports and a little bit of entertainment stuff, and then just something bizarre that I saw, and I just... It's one of those things that I'm like, seriously, who believes this? So, the NBA has a problem. The NBA's decided, all right, so in the midst of all of 2020 and all of the injustice in this world, we're going to allow players to put a message on the back of their jersey expressing their outrage or their support of things. Fine. But the problem comes in of, here's what you can't put on them. Well, wait a second. If I as a player really hate that tree in my front yard, I really hate that tree across the street. I really hate that tree, and I want to put on the back of this jersey, I hate that tree. The NBA to come in and go, we like that tree. You can't put that on the back of your jersey. That's a problem. And it is a problem, and now the NBA is being called out on it. And this is where the whole corporate outrage thing is funny. So, we've been talking about Washington's NFL team and how they have a major problem. There are and a lot of them, and this has been going on for a while. And then the go-to of everybody's always, yeah, but China. Seriously, and this is part of the NBA problem too, right? Where it's, well, you can't talk about China. Well, okay. And so I'm on the fence with this. China has done some horrible things. Absolutely, yes. The Chinese government, yeah. Mm-hmm. And this year and everything, yeah, no, China, not one of my favorite places. But when it gets used as a crutch to excuse other bad behaviors, that's weird to me. And in this case, the NBA really should have thought this through. The NBA's had this problem where, somebody comes out and says, hey, so I support Hong Kong, and then China goes, we'll take your money away, and the NBA goes, no, don't take your money away. And this is a problem for professional sports. They look at China and they see this massive amount of people, this huge market, and they go, boy, we could really get in there and make all kinds of money and roll around in it. And it definitely causes them to make bad decisions. I say right now, it definitely causes them to make bad decisions. And honestly, if you're not going to allow players to say, hey, I support Hong Kong, then why are you letting them come out with BLM on the back of their jerseys? Because again, you can't just pick certain things and go, okay, we'll support this, but we won't support that when, right? And that is a problem. And yes, other sports have this problem as well. And I'll be interested to see how this turns out. I honestly think, you know what? On the backs of their jerseys, it should just be their name on the back. I do. I remember the XFL. I remember He Hate Me. And I remember how stupid I thought that looked. Just their names on the backs. Or just don't put their names on the backs. Just the numbers. We can go back in time to when players didn't have their names on the backs of their jerseys either. I watched Jim Jeffries last night. I watched Intolerant. And I'm putting that into this video because honestly, he's right. It's something we've started to see lately, and it's driven me nuts, and I thought he described it very well. Now, I'm going to say right now, if you haven't watched this special on Netflix, I recommend it. But if you are easily offended by foul language, it is the last thing I would recommend to you. Me, I don't mind some foul language, and honestly, he was talking a lot like I did before I had a channel. There were times where I'd have some pretty nasty foul language, and there were a lot of reasons for that. And it's not really naturally how I would talk, and it just, over years and with depression and anger and just a lot of issues, that's how things ended up. But he said, people are asking him to apologize for jokes he told 10 years ago. And he's not willing to do it because the line keeps getting moved. So what is socially acceptable 10 years ago has changed now. So as a comedian, their job is to kind of push it to the limit. Comedians, and this is going back to when I was a kid, I remember comedians saying things going, wow, I can't believe he just said that. That's part of what a comedian will do. Part of what made George Carlin so popular was that he would say things nobody else was saying. And we would say, wow, that was interesting. And yet he'd have an insightful way of doing it. I think that there's insight you can get from using language that might shock people into paying attention, going, what did he just say? But again, and he talked about Dave Chappelle, and he said, Dave Chappelle's going through a lot for things he said, but for the jokes that you didn't like, okay, but there was a lot there to like. And again, it's that people get upset, and he was talking about how people just get upset, and they just figured that, you should be able to just shut everything down because it's upsetting, and it's not really how comedy works. And again, he said, I don't tell jokes now I might have told 10 years ago. I know now I can't say those things, but I'm not going to apologize for something I said 10 years ago when I was up to the line, just because you moved the line between when I made that joke and now. And my favorite bit was when he said, and if a joke just doesn't work, it just doesn't work. And people are like, why did you say that? Well, I thought it would work, and it didn't. And he said it's not like an airline pilot gets up, crashes into a mountain. And, it's not like he got up and went, well, just smash it. So, they don't intentionally fly into the side of a mountain. I'm not even going to try to say word for word what he said, because it's very funny. And it's appropriate. And that's where we're at. Now, coming back to the NFL that I've been talking about. Now NFL players are raising the concern about safety. Good. Right. That's absolutely. And even though the union and the NFL have worked this out, and they've got this plan to have training camp start next week, NFL players don't feel 100% safe, and I think we're going to see some players opt out. Now, in the NFL, where not all money is guaranteed, what might owners do? And hey, speaking of owners, the Edmonton Eskimos likely are no more. They will likely be the Edmonton Empire. This is something that apparently they sent out some kind of a questionnaire, and it was a leading questionnaire, and it wasn't written very well, and it kind of caused some backlash. So now they're just, we'll just change the name. So the name's going to get changed. It means no change to the logo. It'll still be the double E on the side of the helmet. No change in the colors. Just the team's name changes, and you move along. And again, I don't think name changes are really that big a deal. I really don't. Certainly doesn't affect me one way or the other about the name changes, and I understand that there are certain people that get really upset about them, but I don't think it's that big of a deal. Now, what is a big deal is when you got Alex Rodriguez coming out, and apparently he's one of a group that may be looking to buy the New York Mets, and Alex Rodriguez, A-Rod, without a hint of irony in his voice, says baseball players need to accept a salary cap. Okay, A-Rod. Now, estimates are he made $448 million as a baseball player. He made a ton of money, and there were years where he made a ton of money that he didn't really play very well to get. And while he may be considered one of the most talented players ever, he was also one of the most divisive players to ever play baseball. Very, very divisive. And honestly, for Alex Rodriguez to come out and go, hey guys, you should be willing to take a pay cut. Pardon? Because I'm guaranteeing that the baseball players in general, hearing that from A-Rod, all did a spit take. Every one of them. And I'm stunned at how things change when players are done with their career and they look at being owners. All right, well, now you guys are going to have to take a pay cut. Don't look at me. And it reminds me of Jeremy Roenick when they came out of the lockout, wiped out season in the NHL. They asked him, they said, now you guys are making rookies capped at $900,000, and you guys made big money as rookies coming in, and you guys didn't have a cap on that. And Jeremy Roenick's answer was, I made my money. Meaning, yeah, I voted for this deal, and yeah, it's going to screw over the new kids, but I don't care. I made my money. The most honest thing a player ever said. And here's A-Rod, again, without a hint of irony, saying, they should have a salary cap. Now, the last thing I want to mention is something that I saw on social media that I wanted to answer it, and I thought, no, I can't, because, my God. So, the Zodiac's been messed for years. I remember when I was a little kid, and I had an astronomy book, and it showed the sun's path through the stars. And I noticed it went through a 13th constellation. I noticed it went through a constellation that wasn't one of the Zodiac. And it's Ophiuchus. And I remember going to my mother and saying, you could be, and I thought it was Ophiuchus at the time. I had no idea how to say it. I was a little kid, and I was like, you could be an Ophiuchus. I could be. We don't know if we're an Ophiuchus. The sun goes through. There's a whole bunch of people running around this planet who don't realize that their world is upside down because they are a part of an astrological sign that we don't know exists. This is a problem. So I saw there was a graphic made for it and everything that NASA has announced that there's a 13th zodiac sign, and it's Ophiuchus. And I went, NASA has announced. There's NASA, who are studying astronomy, physics, and things, and astrology is the zodiac. No. NASA did not make that. Nobody's made an announcement, but in fact the zodiac, if you think the zodiac's all that important, if you're one of these people who believes in astrology, there's a problem, because the sun wasn't actually in those signs. The sun moves and the earth moves, and thus where the sun is in the sky moves. So where planets actually are aligned and where the sun is aligned at your birth may very well not be correct according to astrological texts, because astrology. See, the problem is that my whole life I've questioned it, and I've said, astrology is just no, because people will make that comparison with like astronomy, astrology. Oh, I get those two mixed up. Don't you dare. See, and then when I say I don't believe in astrology, people go, yeah, well, you're an Aquarius. Of course you don't believe in astrology. No, knock it off. That's not no. Just no. So when you see this, and I'm doing this as sort of a PSA at the end of this video, no, NASA. No, they just, it kind of broke my brain when I saw this, where I was like, no. And this is something that drives me nuts on social media. And I know, my wife and I do this regularly, where we will see something. And if she's in the other part of the house, she'll send it to me and go, look at this. And then we'll research it. And then we'll say, that's not true, or that is true. And it's important to make sure in this day and age where there's as much social media as we're seeing, that there's the truth, and that you do your best to find it. And sometimes it's really difficult. But NASA doesn't care about the zodiac. NASA could not possibly care less about the zodiac than they do right now. They care about the International Space Station. They care about the whole SpaceX rocket thing. They care about their funding. They care about deep space exploration and this really cool probe that's gone to the sun that I was like, I didn't hear about that. And I realized it's because that's not newsworthy. That's just a probe that's at the sun. That's dealing with just holy crap. And I was even like, why didn't I hear about this? And I looked up like, oh, it's all over the NASA site. So that's what NASA cares about. Not astrology. Not the zodiac. Because again, yeah, I'm an Aquarius, so I don't believe in it. So weird. Anyways, there you go. Like I said, consider that like a public service announcement. And certainly maybe some levity at a time where it might be necessary. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below regarding NFL. Does the season start? Comedians, are they on the hook? Do they have to apologize for jokes they told 10, 20 years ago? Does Robin Williams end up getting, drilled after he's passed away because of jokes he told in the 80s? Because, man, his stand-up in the 80s, boy, I tell you, that would really, really upset people now. Pretty much the whole set. And again, it was Robin Williams, and we know now everything that he was dealing with emotionally at the time when all this was going on. But it was manic, it was crazy, and you couldn't look away. And it was some of the most entertaining and sometimes thought-provoking of the stand-up comedy going on at the time. All right, let me know your thoughts. Hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.